Now, that story by Christine Adhiambo forms the basis of our discussion tonight. So tonight, we focus on the gender-based violence, mostly that is perpetrated or rather aimed at women and of course young girls. And of course, to help me unpack this discussion is my guest, that is Caroline Gitau, that is Program Coordinator, Kenya Works, and of course Joan Kimunya, Women Right Defender. Of course, ladies, thank you so much for making time.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I will begin with you, Caroline. Well, the issue of gender-based violence is something that is more serious, especially when it comes to respect to human life, which is enshrined in our constitution. Well, I want you to paint for us, a clear picture, even as you take us through the work that you do as an organization.
Okay, my name is Caroline Gitau. I work with Kenya Works organization. Gender-based violence is a problem. Actually, it's like a pandemic. It's something that we need to call a pandemic because it's affecting human beings. It's affecting human beings across the world and across the globe. Actually, gender-based violence is any act that puts harm to a human being. Yeah, and it might be physically, emotionally, psychologically, and also economically. And I heard you mention that it happens to girls and women, but it should be notably that it also happens to men and boys. So it's a discussion that not only need to be engaged by women and girls, but also men and boys need to be brought on the table to discuss this, and also we create awareness to them on ways and means that they can be able to join in and prevent gender-based violence.
All right, and of course we'll talk about the joint effort between now bringing all the stakeholders on board so that we can actually, put this discussion behind us. And of course, John, to you, well, you have the boots, ears, and of course, eyes on the ground. Even as you take us through what you do as an organization, and of course, paint to us a glimpse picture of statistics, how the reality is actually on the ground.
Thank you so much. My name is Joan Kimunya. I'm a human rights defender. I work with Young Women Prevent Plus Kenya based in Nyeri, and we work around the thematic areas, that is HIV and AIDS prevention, advocacy among young women, SRHR, and gender-based violence. Okay, when it comes to statistics, we're talking about the reported cases, right? But I can assure you, these reported cases don't actually reflect what is going on the ground. What is happening right there. These are just numbers that have been reported, but there are many cases that go unreported. And let me tell you, currently there has been a limelight on femicide cases. And according to Femicide Count of Kenya, since the beginning of 2023, they actually recorded a number of almost 220 cases. And out of those cases, around 21 cases, femicide cases, were recorded around September. Okay? This doesn't reflect what is happening right there at the ground, at the communities, grassroots communities. It does not reflect what is happening right there. And this becomes a challenge when it comes to actually designing solutions, evidence-based solutions, designing policies, designing activities of the same, restructuring policies, activists, and actually community leaders, CSOs coming on board, trying to challenge the government of Kenya, come on board and try to restructure the policies. It's becoming a challenge. Why are these cases not being reported? We might want to venture so much on the statistic that is being reported, but we want so much that to actually call to action and actually request the CSOs and also the government parastatals, anyone involved when it comes to gender-based violence, to come on board and actually think, why are these cases not being reported? What can we do different from what has been done before so that we can at least come up with actually activities, programs, initiatives, solutions that we can table down as a committee, CSOs, consortiums that can come together and think on how we can address these cases. We can dwell so much on the statistics that have been actually recorded, that have been reported, but we're not solving anything.
Okay.
We need to go back to the communities and address that is not being reported. Why is it not being reported?
All right.
We need to venture on that so much.
Okay. Well, Caroline, I think the better question will be, it's not about why are these cases not being reported? Why are we having even this discussion in the first place? Well, even as you put us into perspective about, the road to actually ending the gender-based violence, just how bumpy is it?
Well, ending gender-based violence is not something easy because it's something that has been ongoing, and we are hoping that we will move forward steps further to ending it, because that is why we're here. Kenya Works and other organizations on the ground are putting initiatives and measures to try and end gender-based violence in our communities. We are trying so much to bring boys on board. For example, one of our programs, community workshop, we will bring men, the community leaders who are actually key people who need to be included in these discussions, especially in the marginalized areas, back there in the villages, in these discussions. They need to create this rapport with the community so that the community may feel free to come and report cases, as we have heard that most cases are not reported, so it doesn't really, the cases reported are not reflecting what is on the ground. So first of all, we need to create this good rapport with the community leaders who are actually the first people who are in contact with the community members to help address the issues of gender-based violence in the community. We also need to look at what is causing gender-based violence. For example, the current issues in our country. Right now we have floods, we have high cost of living. Those are some of the things that are really propagating GBV in our communities. We have, for example, the cases that we are dealing with at the grassroots level as Kenya Works. We have lots of FGM cases, especially now that schools are in holiday. And we have rescued so many girls who are at risk of going through this cut. And going back to the village and trying to solve this problem, we have tried to come in contact with the cutters, actually. The cutters who, when you tell them not to cut the girls, they will pose to you a question. These girls, when we cut them, we get, there is where we get our bread. Yeah, so if we don't do this, what then are we supposed to do? So, but the government is really helping us because we are working hand in hand with the children officers on the ground, the chiefs, who are really helping to address this matter, the cases that are reported, and also take action to these people who are not ready to help reduce the gender-based violence cases on the ground.
All right. And well, John, I'll come to you about the femicide cases. This year alone, we have like at least 119 cases. Out of these, we have 21 deaths. Well, I'm not actually really concerned about the statistics around it, but I'm concerned about the silent voices out there. You talked about some of the cases that have gone unreported. Does it worry you as stakeholder and someone who is really passionate about issues to do, or rather to ending even the gender-based violence? So when you look at these staggering statistics, does it really worry you?
Yes, it does. Because now this actually becomes like a culture, you see. And soon it will be an intergenerational culture, where I can tell you some of the root causes of femicide. We're talking about trying to silence women, using it as a weapon to silence women. In Kiswahili, they say adhabu. Adhabu, like punishment sort of thing. And it's now passed from generation to generation. It becomes a routine. It is normalized. As to the CSOs, if we focus so much on trying not to address the issues that are there, considering that these activities need funding, our projects need funding, at the same time, today we are talking about investing to prevent gender-based violence against women and young girls. We are requested to be funded so that we can actually drive our agenda to try and change mindsets when it comes to gender-based violence. Femicide, it's a worrying thing. It's a national crisis. Okay? And when you come to check, if you narrow down how femicide is actually manifested, you'll understand the other forms of violence that are actually joined for this form of violence to occur. We're talking about physical violence. We're talking about sexual violence. Okay? For it to occur, these are some form of violence that are being perpetrated so that this other form of violence can happen. When we're talking about femicide, femicide is whereby women are being killed. Are they being killed? There are so many reasons. There are so many root causes, okay? We can talk about your sexual orientation. We can talk about poverty.
All right. Actually, we want to take a very short break and just hold on to that thought. Like, you've really raised a very important question. Why are women being killed? Well, that one we'll actually explore after this short break. So we are taking a short break. The conversation still continues in just a while.